I think there are a number of reasons, but probably the most important is that they simply aren't encouraged to continue making any kind of visual representations. If there's any continuation, it's usually because there are art programs or some sort of art emphasis in the schools. But as most of us know who are involved in education, many of those programs today are in jeopardy or have actually been eliminated from public school programs. In my own case, my family were very supportive of my continuing to make drawings and to color and make three-dimensional objects out of clay and so on. But I think the simple answer is that there's no encouragement and it's not particularly a valued activity.
I believe the reason that the majority of the population stops drawing at 8 or 9 is because as children grow and they are put in certain situations that they're told that they don't have that ability, that they don't, and they begin to feel like, well, then I'm not capable of drawing as well. And so I think they just stop. I mean, I think that's part of it. I think also the old school of teaching in a classroom, they believe that it's not time to come in and do arts and crafts and draw, but I think it's time to come in and sit and lecture. I had an adult in my Christian education program, and he basically said, he goes, third grade, they're done. They're done with crafts. They're done with drawing. They don't like to do anything like that. And I'm like, no. They really do enjoy to do stuff like that. They really enjoy the hands-on.
Music accesses different parts of the brain, and so I think by adding music to worship and teaching that you can retain more information, and you can also have new ways of expressing it. So if you're uncomfortable with reciting memory work, that it might be something a little more easy to do if you are able to sing about it or recall a story through song.
I think people learn in all different ways, and I'm a perfect example because I'm very much of a visual person. So for somebody to show me pictures or to help me act out something, I learn it a lot easier than if somebody's just going to sit here and describe or tell me a story. So I think kids learn in all different kinds of ways, and I think it's so important then for us to give those opportunities to them. I think about music. I was at a session meeting one night, and the pastor during a learning time said, what is a hymn or contemporary praise song that you can remember from your lifetime that means a lot to you? And it was amazing. We had to share with each other what that was, and it was just amazing how music can take you to a certain place in time, and relate you to a certain person. And so I think it's so important how kids can relate music, and even drama I think is very important as far as reenacting a Bible story or putting on a skit that relates to that story.
Historically, one of the things that I think most people who've spent any time at all studying church history recognize is that there was a significant period of time when large parts of the population who were involved in worship in the church weren't literate. And so the place of images sort of filled in for the void in the ability of people to read and take advantage of texts and so on. I would say that that's still an important role for images and image making in the church, but it's more complicated, of course, by multimedia kinds of presentations that we have today. And there are all sorts of different kinds of things now that are combinations of image and text that maybe you could have never been anticipated in the past. But certainly that's one role is that for pictures historically, in particular, whether they came in the form of stained glass or painting, mosaics or frescoes in the churches. It was that they were representations, particularly of biblical material that was available to people whether they could read or not.
A child learns in so many different ways, and so a teacher has to really think out of the box. They really need to think about the different artistic ways that a child will reach out and grasp that story. And I think it could be anywhere from Play-Doh to drama to music. I did a children's message one time where we did a liturgical dance in movement to a psalm. God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble. And just amazing how they were able to use their bodies and move to the words, and just brought the whole scripture to life for them. And I think it's so important just to think in so many different ways, especially artistic ways, for children.
More than anything else, encouragement that there's a freedom possible with this sort of activity that children often don't experience in other parts of their lives. And I think it takes some real dedication on the part of teachers to help younger children especially, but then as young persons grow into that sort of early adolescent phase, to continue to take advantage of that freedom. There's so much social pressure that children become afraid sometimes of trying out what they're thinking about or expressing themselves in unusual ways. And yet, if there are folks who can encourage that, especially teachers and so on, and with a sensitive kind of leading, show that there are real possibilities, then I think young people have a real chance for enjoyment and a sense of fulfillment and meaning from that activity. But it does take that special ongoing encouragement and the disciplines that are involved in the arts for people to become really accomplished are disciplines that can be exercised and taught, I think, in a very supportive way. So there's sensitivity with that's also required, so that it isn't as burdensome as some other things that we're trained to do in life.